The following is a special presentation of Tony Kurre Radio. From hot dogs to cool kitties, this is Darkside of the Pooch.
Yo, welcome again to Darkside of the Pooch, brought to you by Sasquatch Toys and Comics. It's brought to you by Toys and Comics because Seth Cosby used to own Ed's Pet World. The place is still for sale, by the way. It's still sitting down there. If you want to make it a pet store, you can do it. It's down there right in the heart of Homewood. It's Pet World, but that's not what we're talking about. Sasquatch Toys and Comics. He's moved everything into a wonderful place at Citation Lane in Homewood where they have over 300,000 comics, Legos, autographs, you name it, toys, stuff you haven't seen forever. If you're looking for something, check out the fantastic cask. I mean, this place. Have you ever been in there yet? Have you been in there?
Yeah.
I mean, you walk in and it just goes and goes and goes. And I mean, there's not an inch that something's not hanging from. I mean, every inch of this place has got some, whether it's a card or a bobblehead or something. It's crazy. So go in there and check it out. It's wonderful. Sasquatch Toys and Comics. Dr. Reb Stewart, Rossburg Animal Hospital, 208-0301. How are you?
I'm fantastic. You know what I was thinking about toys from when I was a kid.
Yeah.
And as you were doing the open there, and I can't believe that this is the first time I've thought about this in, 30, maybe 35 years. When I was a kid, Pee-wee's Playhouse was the thing every kid watched. Mm-hmm. You know, Paul Rubin had this HBO special that I watched when I was older, and it was not for kids. No, it was not for kids. Paul Rubens was an adult comic, and he had some mature subject matter, but somehow he got this kids show. It was on CBS on Saturday mornings. Mm-hmm. He transitioned from that to this.
Great show.
And he had these toys of like the things that were in the Playhouse. Like he had a doll that you could pull the cord and it would say different things. He had a chair. It was the name of the chair was Cherry in the show, and Cherry talked. And I had all these things when I was a kid. I wonder if Seth ever sees that stuff.
Oh, I imagine he does. There's a wonderful documentary that just came out on Paul Rubens about a year ago. I was going to say 3 months ago. That. So it just came out about a year ago, and I forget what it's called. Now you're going to have to. I have to know what it is, or else I'm going to lose my mind. Paul Rubens.
He's just a fascinating dude. I think everyone who knows Paul Rubens.
He passed away.
He did. He passed away not too long ago, but he got into some trouble too. He was a kind of a tortured individual.
It's called Pee-wee as myself. Pee-wee as himself. A good looking guy too. Really. Yeah, he had the whole movie thing, and of course that was just. I mean, you can't have a TV show aimed at children and do something like that in a movie theater. I mean, it's just you can't do it. No. But I mean, the documentary, which I've seen parts of, is amazing. And he really was. He didn't plan on that show being a children's show, and then once it started becoming that way, and it was kind of like his alter ego, and he just really enjoyed it. I just loved being that. And he kind of turned into his own thing, but that was amazing stuff.
Yeah, he created a character, and that's who he was.
Yeah, I was into this is way before that, but Captain Kangaroo was my go-to. Mr. Green Jeans, Grandfather Clock, Ping Pong Bunny. I loved when they dropped the ping pong balls. And then we had a local show, Uncle Al, that was on WCPO in Cincinnati, Uncle Al.
I've heard of that.
And I actually got a chance to be on his show. I was actually on his show one time. I never forget. They gave me a violin and said, "Here, you play the violin in this next segment." And I was like, and I didn't know it had no strings. And I didn't know, I was like, well, how am I supposed to play it? I don't know how to play the violin. Just play it. And so I was up there and I was like playing this violin. And all I know is at the end of the show, you got to stick your hand in the jar of pennies. And you got to take a handful of pennies and leave with whatever you got in your hand. And man, everyone loved that jar of pennies. And I can remember practicing like for weeks before I went on the show of how many pennies I could actually grab, and I think I ended up getting 237 pennies or something like that. Anyway, but yeah, you think about those shows. And then I can remember sitting there watching the first Sesame Street. I think I was 3 years old. It actually was on Ohio Public Television, but at the time it came on it was supposed to come on like at 7 o'clock in the morning or something. It came on and it coming out at 10 o'clock. I remember sitting in front of the television for like 3 hours waiting for the show to start because my mom said, there's this brand new show, you're going to love it. And I was like, okay. And I was like 3. But yeah, just some of the things that we remember.
Yep.
Yeah, it's pretty amazing stuff. All right, what's going on in the pet world? Got some great emails, by the way, info@tonycurryradio.net. Several people emailing, loving the flea and tick shot that you brought up. A lot of people were not aware that you can now get a flea and tick shot that's good for an entire year, which is fantastic. I think a lot of people just don't do it because they just forget to do it. 3 months goes by super quick. 6 months go by super. So you can get that done. Check it out at Rob Stewart's shop there at the Rossbridge Animal Hospital, rossbridgevet.com. And get that done now. And again, a lot of people think about those things now that the temperature is starting to get a little warm. I know we're going to probably get some questions about snakes too. We always have a good snake show around this time of the year because I've had every single pet I've ever had has been bitten by a poisonous snake. Can you go over some of the do's and don'ts? Because as it gets warmer, snakes are coming out. It hasn't been raining a whole lot, so they're looking for something to drink. So if you have not seen a snake around your wooded area, soon you will. And of course, along with that, dogs will find those things as well. What happens if your dog gets bitten? Is that something you need to worry about? Yada, 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 yada.
I think that proving that there's a snake bite is very difficult. It almost takes you seeing the dog with the snake to know that it was a snake bite.
Blood is blood a good? I mean, you can usually see, can you not? I mean, at least on Freddy dog, I could see the puncture wounds in his lips where he was bleeding. Yeah. And of course, it was swelling up and it was like this. And you can kind of get an idea, but continue.
Sometimes you can. Sometimes you can see 2 real small puncture wounds, and they can be, a centimeter to, an inch apart, maybe even a couple inches apart, depending on the size of the snake. But I think that we had one a few weeks ago. The hallmark of a snake bite is swelling and necrotic tissue. So the tissue dies, turns purple. You get a lot of, so you get some swelling. Eventually you'll have so much swelling that sometimes you'll get some weeping of like a kind of a reddish or clear fluid from the area that's swollen. Mm-hmm. But the reason that I say it can be hard to determine if it's a snake bite or not is because so many other things can cause that. If it can be another insect, it can be a different type of puncture. You get punctured by the wrong thing, and that's just like giving yourself an injection of bacteria, which is basically what a snake bite is, in addition to venom.
Yeah,
if it's a venomous snake.
I will say this: the times that we've had snake bites, you'll know something right away is up. If a dog bangs his leg up or gets bitten by something, for the most part, it seems like it's. I can remember the 3 bites I've had. Our dog has come in the house. First of all, it won't eat anything, and it just acts really bizarre. It just Rainer dog, when he got bit, he just stood there in the middle of the kitchen and did not move, and just like he had been scolded. Like when you scold an animal, and he kind of cowered down. I was like, "What's up, buddy?" And he just stood there, and he would not move. I mean, and I was like, "Come on!" And then I looked and I saw his lip and I was like, oh, he's been bitten by something. And he realized he had gotten in something he probably wasn't supposed to. So I will say this, but now Freddy dog, and then we've talked about Freddy dog many times. Freddy dog got bit twice. And I can remember taking it to some after-hour place up off of the Valleydale Road or whatever. And of course, we're $800-900 in the minute we stop in. Then of course, if he's going to spend the night, that's another $600-700. And then she asked me the question, which I thought I'd never get: do you give us permission to give your dog mouth to mouth? And I was like, "Are you serious?" And she said, "Yeah." And I was like, No. I don't want you giving my dog mouth to mouth. No. And I was going to have to sign off on that. That was like $50 just to allow them to give mouth to mouth. For all I know, they could be making out with my dog all night and charge me for it. I wouldn't have known. And so at that point I knew, hey, listen, I appreciate y'all and thank you for all your help, but I'm going to take my dog and we're going to leave now. And that's when, we were doing the shows with you and you were like, you gave me some of the best advice in the world. And that is, don't do anything. Just keep a close eye on your animal. And if they start getting bizarre within a couple of, say, 24 hours, then maybe take them in. But for the most part, you don't need to take them into an emergency room, correct?
I've never seen a snake bite die. I've never seen an animal die from a snake bite. But there is the possibility that they can. I mean, it's possible.
Yeah.
They can have trouble clotting their blood, and having trouble clotting their blood, they actually create a lot of really, really small blood clots in their body. So they can. It's called disseminated intravascular coagulopathy. So they basically die of. They basically die of tons of really tiny blood clots. I've seen a lot of pretty bad injuries. I've seen them lose their skin. I mean, it sloughs, it dies, it sloughs right off. I've seen them swell up so much that they eventually will rupture. They'll have a hole that ruptures. It builds up so much pressure, it pops. And so then you have a huge like cavern underneath the skin, where the fluid is collected. And once that fluid is gone, then you just have a bunch of loose skin that you got to deal with. So I've seen a lot of gnarly things. Yeah, but I haven't seen one die yet.
And again, so we have rattlesnakes here. We have copperheads, water moccasins. We have some pretty big bad snakes around here. For the most part, though, it really kind of depends on. It's not where they're getting bitten, but at what point during the snake's feeding they get bitten. Explain that a little bit, because I realize that snake bite's not just a snake bite. Not every snake bite's the same. If they've just gotten done eating, chances are they won't even bite you. But if they're hungry, that's when they have the maturity of venom in their system that can be quite potent. Correct?
Yeah, if they have eaten recently, then you may get a dry bite. So if it's a venomous snake. And not all snakes are venomous, okay? But it could be a dry bite. So the snake doesn't have any venom because it just emptied out the tank with something else, okay? And then there can be, a variation into that. If you have a dry bite and then you have a snake that hasn't eaten in days, and then you get.
Yeah, give me that last answer. You just kind of froze right up there. Just the last 10 seconds. What you got?
Yeah, so if you can have all across the board. You can have a snake that has a dry bite, and you have really just it's almost just like getting scratched, by a knife or something. That's the bite. It's not venomous. Yeah. And then all the way to the other end of the spectrum where the snake hasn't eaten in days, and you have a very, very venomous bite. Yeah. And then you can have stuff in between, and that depends. That's how bad the bite will be. How much venom the dog gets. And
I would ask this, and I did this. It didn't work. You don't have to kill these snakes. I mean, these snakes, they're living in the backyard. They're not bothering anybody. Now, my daughter is not afraid of snakes anymore because I have a ball boa, which I will, if you remind me, I'll bring it out towards the end of the show and I'll let you see it. She's not afraid of snakes anymore. And so here's a copperhead, like in the middle of our driveway, one Sunday afternoon. And I'm like, and she's walking up to pick it up. I was like, no. We don't mess with that because that's a copperhead. And she had no clue. And I killed that snake only because it was in our playing area. It was right there in the front yard. Now, if it's in the back in a wooded area, I'd leave it alone. I've called professionals over and they've actually taken a couple snakes out of our backyard because snakes are good. They're good for us. And for gosh sakes, black snakes are fantastic because black snakes, also known as rat snakes, they kill poisonous snakes. They're great for rats and mice. If you have mice and rats or you live in an outdoor area, great for killing lizards and stuff like that. So black snakes are wonderful. They get quite big as well. So they're great pets as well. So just something to think about. All right. Any interesting news, that's come out, in your shop lately? Any good stories here? We have not talked about movies or dreams lately. So I want to talk about that a little bit, but anything interesting going on?
Do you remember, this, I feel like it's been a while ago, but time's a weird thing. So you had a story about a pill that could make a dog live longer. Mm-hmm. Do you remember this story?
Yeah.
It's been several months ago, if not longer. Mm-hmm. Well, that finally landed in a legitimate publication that I read. Okay, now it's an online publication, and it just samples a bunch of different things from companion animal, which is dogs and cats, to food animal, cows, and all kinds of different business type things or whatever. But so in this weekly email blast, they had a write-up about it. And so the way that it's supposed to work is that it targets growth factors.
Okay.
And it's supposed to, because when you have growth factors in your body, and those are the things that help you grow. Well, they also help you age. So as dogs get older, these growth factors can actually become harmful. You know, it makes your organs age. So what this pill is supposed to do is it's supposed to cut down on the amount of, growth factors that you have. And so it's supposed to help the pet live longer. And I mean, there are people that are looking into this thing that think that this could, really revolutionize pet ownership and pet care. But I still don't, the science behind it, to me, my main question about this whole thing is, why doesn't this exist in people? If it's going to work on dogs, why don't we have this for people?
Well, if it's going to work on dogs, and for people wondering, it doesn't add 5 or 10 years. It adds maybe 1 to 3 years if you're fortunate. They're still trying to figure out when this would be administered. Do you give it to it when it's 8, 9, 10 years old, when it gets towards it, or do you give it to it when it first is born? So they've got 1,500 dogs that are in this study right now. They've been doing it for 6 or 7 years. We should know soon, and I guess we are hearing about it. Everything from giving pets, puppies, older dogs, and obviously we're having to go through a lot of discussion and scientific research on exactly how this is going to work. But it does appear, you mentioned this growth factors, that, and I think you and I were talking about Burt Warden, that goofy dog food he has where every one of his animals are 23, 24, 25 years old, which is almost impossible. So it may add a year, but you have to look at, first of all, is it cost effective? I mean, are you willing to spend $500 a year if you give your dog a shot once a year, and you know that it's going to maybe make it live to 15 instead of 13, you still could get hit by a mail truck. You could still get cancer. You could still, get killed by another dog. There's all these other different things that could happen. And you and I had an amazing conversation about this. I think we actually got biblical on it the last time you and I were talking about, because you're messing with God now. You're messing with God's creature. You're messing with life. And I know that he's created human beings to create things to make us live better. I understand that. But if we're supposed to live to be about 80 years old and all of a sudden we got a pill that can make us live to 87, 88, 89, and do we want that? Do you want to have an animal? I know some people that have 13-year-old dogs, and they just assume that you've been in a situation where, you're picking the animal up, walking out the stairs. Maybe it's gotten arthritis in its legs. It's gotten old, but it seems to be happy. It still wags its tail, which doesn't mean a lot. And you're like, do I really want to keep this animal alive? So be careful what you wish for. Do you know what I'm saying?
Yeah. Yeah. And I think the thing that made this article kind of get a little bit of legitimacy. So I just looked it back up. So the FDA has accepted the safety package. So that's a huge step.
What's the safety package? Is that's that they say it's okay to administer this to an animal? Now they're doing the testing.
Yeah. Well, they have at least come up with something that the FDA says, okay, you can attach this to your product. It makes sense. We believe that the safety profile is what you say it is.
Yeah.
So
measles vaccines, not so much, but you can give this to your.
Yeah.
You know how stupid that sounds. Don't take vaccinations as a human being, but you can give this to your animal so it can live an extra 19 months. Yeah.
Hey, I'm telling you, I'm telling you, if this works, there's a huge market for this.
Well, I mean, and you could probably get a little deeper in this. If we can allow an animal to live 1 to 3 years longer, then there's no reason why we shouldn't think we couldn't make it 3 to 5 years longer. And I'm sure they're already working on that aspect of it. But again, I don't really know what a growth factor is. Does a growth factor mean you'd be procuring it from growing older in certain aspects, but there still be other parts of the dog that grow older? Because obviously the bones are still getting older, the muscle's still getting older, the fat's still getting older. I mean, you can't turn that stuff around. So what are these growth patterns you're talking about that would be?
Well, at some point, growth factors stop becoming helpful because you stop growing up. Well, yeah, you become mature.
Yeah,
that's what growth factors do. So
is that like those stories we hear about the carnival people, the people that grow to be like 19 feet tall? Their growth is that what that is? Their growth factors don't stop, or
I'm sure it has
young.
I'm sure it has something to do with it. But at some point in your life, there comes a time. Also, I'm talking about dogs here, obviously, where they're mature now.
Yeah.
They don't. The growth factors are not as important as they once were.
Mm-hmm.
So I guess modulating them could only be helpful.
Yeah. You and I were talking about men and getting older and Christians and stuff like that before the show we started. I wanted to share a little story with you, and then I want you to share a story with me. It could be about a dream. You have a good dream you want to share today, or do you have a good movie you saw that you want to share?
Yeah, I can talk about a movie. Right. The dream that I had last night was short and horrible.
Really. I'm having the same dream every single night, and they're great dreams. I'm doing a remote somewhere in LA. I'm overlooking the Pacific. I'm at someone's rich home. Friends of mine are there. We're partying. We're doing all the things that I used to do that I don't do anymore. I don't know where that plays into this. It's kind of scary, but I'm not. I don't have any issues with it, and it's just an all night party. And I wake up and go, oh, that was kind of fun. Normally, I'd wake up from a dream like, whew, I'm glad that's not happening anymore. But I'm kind of. But I did want to share a little. I want to share a little story with you. So my decade of the 50s was probably the worst decade a guy could probably have. Still blessed, very good, got at it. But I'm going to make the decade of the 60s the best decade I've ever had. All right. So I turned 60 back in March. So I'm at the Alabama State Fair with my son, my special needs son, Saturday night, and my daughter was there, and she had a date. And another friend of hers had a date, and so I was kind of chaperoning, and they kind of wanted to go off and do their own thing. I said, that's fine. Xavier and I are going to walk around. So we started walking around. So I'll do anything for my boy. I'll do anything for my boy. If it gives him an opportunity to experience something and he wants to go see it, I'll make it happen. I will do whatever it takes. So he's never been a big rider, because he's legally blind. He can't see things that come at him really fast. So getting on something where things are like this, it's too much for him. And he's epileptic, and he can have seizures and all that stuff. So we get on this thing, and he always wants to go on this rattler. It's called the Rattler. And that's that ride that you get a little box, and it swings out. Hey, someone's getting crushed, you go, hey, it's called the Rattler. So he's on the inside, so I'm crushing him. So I'm like, okay, we're good there. I get off the ride, I'm a little woozy. I asked him if he wanted to eat, and he's like, no, I'm good. I don't want to eat. And that was great because I just didn't feel like, and of course, they don't take cash, so I didn't feel like dropping $300. And so we walk around. So I haven't been on a Ferris wheel like in 30-something years. I'm not afraid of heights, but like a normal person, if I'm 300 feet in the air and I'm looking down, I get a little antsy, But I made a point to check out things. Oh, that's where our house is. There's I-65. There's the Galleria. And we really enjoyed that. That took about 15 minutes. When we get down, we're good there. And so then he wants to go into the fun house. And the fun house is the floors are moving, and there's a mirror and stuff like that. And as you're walking through, it's all sensory stuff. And of course, again, my boy can't see real well, but he can feel it. We're walking across the rope bridge and stuff. And there's this big round tube that's spinning, and you have to walk through this tube to get out, right? And I thought I'd be funny and get in the bottom of it and let it roll me around a couple of times, right? So it's rolling me around, and it hit me one time, and I hit my head on the inside of this thing, and I could hear the guy, the Spanish dude, do you want me to stop the ride? Stop the ride. And I said, no, I'm good. Just that's good. And so people are starting to wait, and I can't get up. I can't get my bearings to get up and get out of this damn thing. And finally I said, stop the ride. And of course it's starting to get around to some dude can't get off the Funhouse ride, which is like the lamest ride there is at the state fair. So I'm like, holy shit. I said, all right. So I walk out, and I mean, I'm woozy. I'm pretty sure I've had a concussion at some point in my life, and man, my head is spinning. And so I get off, and I'm like, and of course Xavier's laughing. He thinks it's funny. So he wants to go. Then we get on the ship, the big ship ride, and that was fine. It was good. He wanted to get on the drop zone, and it's 150 feet high. It's got King Kong on the top of it. It takes it up, and then you drop. It's like, I've seen too many of these rides crash. I'm not. I worked at Kentucky. I worked at amusement parks for a long period of my life. I set a record for riding the most roller coasters at Six Flags. I mean, this is all old hat for me. I've done all this stuff a million times. and nothing scares me. But it's a state fair, and so I was kind of like, And the thing that really bothers me is I don't like those harnesses that go over my chest because I'm claustrophobic, and I need to make sure I can get out. I don't like. I mean, I'll get claustrophobic if I get a wet T-shirt stuck on my head. I can't get out of a wet T-shirt. So he starts. He's like, well, I'll ride Hell's Taxi. The Hell's Taxi is this circular roller coaster, and it goes upside down, and it gets stuck. And then it comes back around, it spins around, and I was like, yeah. So I said, I'll go on this thing called Oxygen, and it's a basket of riders, like 8 or 9 people in a basket, and it spins, and it kind of tilts a little bit, and the centrifugal force, keeps you up against the side. There's no belts on it. And so we get on that, and I walk off that thing, and I'm dizzy. I'm looking around, I'm walking kind of sideways, and I'm like, dude, I'm getting kind of dizzy. I said, Dad may be done. The whole time wanting to do whatever my boy wanted to do, and he was really into this. He was like he'd found this part of him that he wanted to start riding rides. And so there was a last ride. It was called the Alien Abduction. It was a spaceship. You could get like 40 people in it, and it was the one with the floor drops. The thing that spins around real quick, and the floor drops. Yeah. Well, this one, the floor doesn't drop. Your seats actually go up. So there's like rollers on your seats. So you're sitting there, and so just as you go, the floor doesn't drop. All the seats go up. And it was already, the ceiling of this thing was about 7 or 8 feet, so it was already kind of low. It was dark. It stunk. It was black. There's lights all over it. We're spinning around, and I'm thinking to myself, okay. And dude, it was so close. I threw up my brains. I mean, and thank goodness
you did, or you almost.
I did. I threw up my brains. I had an icy when we first walked in. It was red icy. It was all I had. And my son goes, Dad, that's why I didn't want to eat. And I was like, wow. And I threw up my guts. Of course, people are laughing. Hey, isn't that the dude that was in the fun house? And they're like, oh, and I'm like, oh, shit. I'm throwing my guts up. And Xavier walks over. He walked away a little bit because he goes, hey, you want to see me vomit? And he walks over and he goes, are you okay? And I said, yeah, I'm fine. And I'm sweating. And I take my T-shirt and I'm wiping my face off. And he says, Dad, this has been the most awesome night ever. He goes, I love that you vomited, that you threw up. And he's laughing at me. And for the first time, I say it the first time, again, another thing where, I'm at 60, I can't ride rides like that anymore. I'll throw my guts up. And I couldn't believe it. I mean, obviously at some point I had some type of concussion because my head spun the rest of the night, all night long. I was almost afraid I couldn't drive home. But I threw my guts up, and we laughed about it.
Were you on the ride? Like, was the ride going when you did it, or was it after?
The minute the ride stopped, man, I made a beeline, and my mouth started getting really wet, and I could feel the back of my ears start to tingle. And I thought, I'm going to throw up. And I did one of those things. I walked down the ramp, and I mean, the second I got off the ramp, I cut in between the 2 rides, and it just went, brah, and I was like, yeah, it was like.
But these rides that go in circles, that's what gets me too. It didn't used to get me, but when I got into like my late 30s, early 40s, I had a similar experience. It wasn't the state fair, because the state fair ups the ante on these carnival rides. I mean, the state fair is like carnival rides on steroids. Mm-hmm. But it was a few years ago. There was just a small carnival on on our side of town that my kids wanted to go to. So we did. And the Rattler thing that you were talking about, where like, it almost looks like you're going to hit the other person when it spins. It's like, it's like that. So we were on that thing, and I thought I was going to lose it on that. I was able to keep it together, and I didn't throw up. But that's when I knew that these circular, I can still do roller coasters, no problem. Yeah. But these things that go in fast circles, I'm out. I can't do them anymore. Yeah, like the teacups and stuff. I used to get on the teacups, man. And again, like roller coasters, there was one roller coaster. It was called the sloppy tub or something. It was a tugboat, and it went side to side. It went up and down a hill, but it went side to side, and those are the ones that kill me. Like if we're on a railroad or track or something, I'm good. That doesn't bother me. But anything that goes side to side, even the ship. But man, I was just, there's you go to Huntsville at the Rocket Center.
And they have all these different anti-gravity things that all these astronauts and stuff have to, even the ones from Artemis, they actually went through Huntsville to go through all these things. And there's this, I call it a ride, but you get in this bubble and it spins you around. And the whole idea is your stomach never moves. Your stomach stays in one place the entire time as you're spinning, but your stomach never moves. Now, if your stomach moves left or right or up or down, you'll throw your guts up. But the fact your stomach never moves, and so it's wild because you're upside down in like for 5 or 6 minutes. You get off and you don't feel anything. You get off and you're like, and that's how it's supposed to feel, I guess, in space. But yeah, I was like, it sucked because I was crazy ass, man. I love roller coasters. I did this thing over Six Flags where I got first in line at every roller coaster in a row. I rode like 30 something roller coasters in an hour. Set some record. I may still be in the Guinness Book of World Records, and was
this like a
fun.
Publicity thing?
Yeah, it was through the radio station. Yeah, Six Flags came over and I went over there and did a remote, and I rode every ride. People were getting pissed off because I kept cutting in line, and I had to ride like 32 roller coasters an hour to set the record or whatever. And so they were always letting me in first, and then as soon as I got on the road, the ride took off, even when it was empty, because I had to keep it, going. So I rode the rides a couple of times by myself, but yeah, just one of those, I'm old and I'm throwing up. I'm just like, oh my gosh.
It kills me that the person was like, hey, isn't that the guy that could?
Yeah, that's depressing. The fact that I threw, I almost threw up, but the fact that I could not get out of the funhouse. I'm serious now. I was in this thing and it was rolling because it never stopped. And I guess I thought it was going to stop and it never stopped. And so I just kept rolling. I mean, I couldn't get on my knees and catch up fast enough to get it where I could get off. And it was only, 3 or 4 feet wide. And I finally called Uncle. I said, shut the ride off, please. And he shuts the ride off. And I mean, it was embarrassing. It was embarrassing. Yeah, it was bad. So anyway, well, tell me about this weird dream you had.
Oh, it's the same. It's not, it's my teeth fall out. Like I have this dream all the time, but this one was very interesting because I could tell that I had loose. This was a little different in the fact that I could tell my teeth were loose. Okay.
Yeah.
So I go into the mirror and I open my mouth and I look and I have dog teeth. So that's
pretty cool right there.
That's the wrench. That's the wrench that they got thrown into it this time. But so, I'm looking in my mouth like I would look into a dog's mouth. And so I'm looking in my mouth and I see the exact same thing that I see in dog's mouth. Like I have horrible gingivitis and the tartar on my tooth is like, 4 millimeters thick. And I'm just like, I'm in there and I'm like, okay, I'm just gonna have to pull this tooth. I'm just gonna have to pull this tooth out. And so I reach in there and I just pulled 2 teeth out and I was like, well, I guess I can always just get dentures if I need to. I just went on with my day.
Well, see, I mean, and this as we get older, well, everyone goes through this, but normally there's little bits and pieces from this story, a bit from this story, this bit, and then you throw them all together, and that's what your dream's all about. I've told that dream about being in the truck stop. I was naked in a truck stop in a shower, and there was this ivory liquid stuff that kept getting dumped on my head, and I mean, it was just, I was like... And then the guy come walking in with a shotgun, and I was behind a towel. I mean, it took I can remember filling up a soap thing with ivory liquid earlier in the day. Thank God that's what that meant. I was in a truck stop at Buc-ee's. I mean, because I could have looked at it and it could have been totally different. But it is what it is. But I will say this: the state fair. There's a couple state fairs, and the one that is out there. This one was out. Oh, and by the way, that's the first time that I've been to Oak Mountain since they tore down the amphitheater.
Oh, isn't it sad?
I felt ghosts. I almost cried. I'm sitting there with my son, and I looked up and I said, "Here's where it was." And of course, he's like, he didn't care. He's like, and I said, "No." I said, "Man." The stories that I could tell about that place, the people that I saw there, Robert Plant, Joe Cocker, Def Leppard, Stevie Ray Vaughan, Huey Lewis. I mean, I used to spend my weeks out there. I mean, there were some times where I'd spend the night out there because I knew I was going to have to get up the next day and be out there and do a remote. Stevie Nicks stories. I mean, just oh my gosh. It hurt. It hurt to go back there and see it was just a big grass field. I was like, damn it, we should have had something And I feel guilty that I didn't know about it. We should have had something where we could have had a vigil. We could have lit candles. I'm serious. We could have done something.
Had another just huge farewell concert.
Just invite everyone to bring their stuff out and get on stage and play for a couple hours. I don't know, but there were so many memories. Music is so important in that part of our life, and to see it just gone because of a bulldozer just really bummed me out. I don't know what they're planning on doing with that area, but I actually thought, when I knew they were going to build the one, I thought maybe we should do a GoFundMe and see if we can save this thing. But I mean, what will we do with it? We just sit there. And,
without the promoters getting axe in there, nothing's going to happen with it.
Well, we know how that's going. That's another lawsuit waiting to happen. So it is what it is. All right, tell people how they can find you, my friend. I got another show to do. It's always fun.
Yeah, man. 208-0301. You can email us, rossbridgeanimalhospital@gmail.com, or you can find us on Facebook.
Sasquatch Toys and Comics, Sasquatch Toys and Comics. Check them out. They're Citation Lane right there in Homewood. They have over 300,000 comics, everything from Battlestar Galactica, Star Wars stuff, Legos. You want stuff that you can't find anymore, Evel Knievel, whatever it is, man, they'll find it for you. And particularly stuff that's still boxed up. If you got some stuff to buy, sell, and trade, they'll do that as well. Check them out, Sasquatch Toys and Comics. Thank you, my friend. I'll catch up next week.
Okay, buddy.
Thanks, Bo.
This has been a special presentation of Tony Kurre Radio.